Well, hey, I'm Jeff, your tabletop tech here in the Dice Tower, and folks, it's time for a shakedown. Alright, here we go with my next gaming shakedown. To recap, these are short, streamlined impressions of a game after a few plays, with the simple intent of helping you decide if maybe these games are right for you. And today I'm taking a quick and simple look at a quick and simple game. This is Heroes of Barcadia. This is by Roll-A-Crit, and it's their first actual board game, as up until now, they have focused on gaming accessories like dice, dice trays, mats, apparel, and more. And that is clearly evident in the table presence and quality of the components in this box. But first, I need to get something out of the way. This is essentially an adult drinking game with a dungeon crawler theme. Of course, you don't have to consume adult beverages to enjoy this game, as both the rulebook and the bottom of the box do clearly point out. But I realize that some folks may still be uncomfortable with that idea, and I understand, and I certainly welcome those folks to check out some of the other fantastic content here in the channel. I nor the Dice Tower condone the unsafe consumption of alcoholic beverages. So with that out of the way, let's move on. And this, by the way, is apple juice. Okay, so as I said, this is a dungeon crawler. You'll start by setting out a varied arrangement of these hexagonal stone-patterned tiles around a central arrangement of these wooden patterned tiles in the middle. These are the central starting point of the dungeon and act as a single space for players to move across. Each of these stone tiles, however, represents a single room, and players will take turns revealing these rooms and handling whatever threats they may discover within. To do so, of course, they'll need a player piece, which unlike most dungeon crawlers, isn't accomplished by a miniature or a standee, but instead by these pint glasses, which feature a character and these health indicators ranging from 0 to 60 hit points. I probably don't need to explain this, but your volume of beverage indicates your current health, and whenever you would take damage, you, well, take the damage. The game itself is remarkably simple. On their turn, a player can reveal any of these stone tiles that they are currently adjacent to. Inside, they'll either find loot, a power-up, a monster, or a boss. Monsters and bosses must be fought immediately, and to do so, players must roll their own d20 die. If they roll equal to or higher than the level of that monster, they win the fight. If they roll lower, they take damage equal to the monster's damage value. When fighting bosses, players will choose an opponent around the table to essentially become that boss, rolling their own die, establishing the boss's level, which then the active player must beat. Whoever loses the fight has to take damage equal to the damage level of the boss's tile. If a player defeats a monster or boss, they get the reward shown on the bottom of the tile, and then the tile stays face up on the table to indicate that the room has been cleared. Rewards come in the form of loot and power-up cards, which players can also discover as they explore the dungeon. Loot cards are simple, one-time use abilities that players can play in a variety of ways for a variety of effects. These can help you, but in general, they'll aim to hurt or hinder your opponents. Power-ups, on the other hand, play face up on the table in front of each player, and these give ongoing bonuses or abilities to their respective player. Players can only have 3 power-ups in play at a time, but they can swap them out as new ones are gained. Now, the game is played until a player reveals the Drink Hoard tile. Once revealed, this tile remains face up until a player manages to defeat it, but before anyone can attack it, they must have 3 power-up cards in play in front of them. If they do, and they manage to roll higher than the Drink Hoard's level of 15, then they immediately win the game. Now, there's a few other things in here, like these traps players can leave in rooms, and these portal tiles that players can use to zip around the dungeon. There's also optional player powers that can be brought into play, and there's also these house rule cards. Now, these are revealed whenever a player rolls a natural 20, and they'll often introduce some ridiculous rule that players must abide by until the next card is revealed. These are a quelf level of obnoxious or even a bit immature, but there are some blank cards that come in a box that players can use to create an environment a little more comfortable for their game group, or they can just be left out of the game. And that's basically it. Heroes of Barcadia is incredibly light, and it's also pretty ridiculous, with little to no strategy and gameplay that basically boils down to simple dice rolls. As far as dungeon crawlers go, it's borderline terrible. But the good news is it plays very fast, and you can even remove a couple of each type of card from the game to make it go a little faster. The thing is, Roll-A-Crit had one idea with this game: to make a silly drinking game using glassware as player pieces, littered with ridiculous puns and silly artwork, and I can't deny for a second that they absolutely nailed it. This game does not take itself too seriously, and everyone that I've mentioned it to has responded with wide-eyed amazement. And everyone wants to play it, but here's the thing, I'm not really sure this game is for everyone. I bought it knowing that I wasn't going to get that much mileage out of it. Let's be honest, I'm 43 years old. Most of my friends are not going to want to play a game like this for any more than about 10 minutes, and it probably takes that long just to set this game up. Maybe if you and your friends are more in that 20-somethings range, you'd get more mileage out of something like this, but then there's another problem. Everything that you see here cost me over $180, and I left out a number of accessories that would jump the price to over $230. That is an absurd amount of money for something with so little substance to it. And don't get me wrong, the component quality here is fantastic. These tiles are plastic, not plastic coated, but plastic, so they're fully waterproof. The glassware is, however, also plastic, though I could have gotten a set of glass vessels for an extra $80. The cards here are also plastic, though Roll-A-Crit did mention that retail copies of this game would probably come with plastic coated cards, but still the fully plastic tiles. And there is one other accessory here that I just have to mention. These silicone straws. The first time I saw these, I thought gimmick, hard pass, but I was at Roll-A-Crit's booth at PAX, and Erica explained that if you want to take the game, which by the way can fit in just this little box without the glassware, to a pub or a bar where they may not want to fill your own glassware, you can use these to turn any vessel into a health tracker. I thought that was absolutely brilliant, and so here they are. So that's Heroes of Barcadia. Listen, I can't really recommend this as far as games go. I mean, Cora Quest is a more engaging dungeon crawler than this. But I'm sure it's right for someone. It might be one of those elusive 20-somethings with tons of disposable income. But then again, for what it's worth, one of my colleagues invited us over for New Year's Eve and wanted to play this, and him and his wife easily have a decade on me and my wife. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is a way for my generation to cut loose and have some fun without having to play beer pong. But in the end, it's going to come down to you and whether or not you think that this theme, this feather-light gameplay, and this behemoth of a budget is going to work for you and your friends. In the meantime, and more appropriately than in any of my other reviews, cheers.